And I am pleased to welcome to the 2025 edition of Statehouse Conversations, Representative Sue Errington of Muncie, Democrat, District 34 for those who want to get into the weeds in terms of the numbers and the officials. Familiar face, certainly we go way back. You were in the Senate from 2006 to 2010. And then came back 2012 in the House, and you've been representing your constituents there ever, which is you said it's basically Muncie, right? I mean, you said there are a few precincts out of it, but basically
3 precincts to the north of Muncie, but
and while they count and you love them, they're they're not your district. But thanks for taking time to chat. What's on your agenda this session? I know you've introduced, I think, 9 bills and a resolution.
Right.
What are give us some highlights.
All right. Well, that's the limit for House members, so I got them all in. I'd like to talk about one of them for sure. It's called the Yellow Dot program. It would be administered by the BMV, and it's an opportunity for first responders, if they find someone who's been in an accident, say, and is unresponsive, the yellow dot would clue them in that there's a person with this car who has a medical condition that maybe they shouldn't have just every kind of remedy that the first responder can offer. So if they have the yellow dot, then they have a packet of information in their glove compartment that tells what they have and medications they have, and then the first responder can know whether they should administer something or not.
So avoid some unfortunate mistakes where somebody's thought to be intoxicated or something, maybe having a medical issue, a seizure or something, or, as you say, avoid giving somebody the wrong treatment for which they may have some sort of adverse reaction.
Yes. I'm very hopeful we can get this because it's not really a new idea. There are already 22 states who have it. Pennsylvania was the first state in 2012. So there's a lot of experience with it, and it's really helpful as a public education tool that the BMV could have information about it on the website, tell people how to get the packet, and put the decal. It could go, say you have 2 cars in your family. The decal could go on both cars and you'd have the packet in both glove compartments, so if the person wasn't the registered driver for that car but were in it, then it would be a way to know about the problem.
Right. Tell us how, I love these conversations because I'm reminded that 150 people who are elected to represent their constituents, they all have different agendas, different priorities. Their constituents have different ones. And I'm fascinated always how bills come about. Talk about how this came down the pipeline.
Yes. Well, my husband, who passed away 8 years ago, died from complications of Parkinson. So I'm in conversations with the Parkinson support group in Muncie. And they asked me if I would offer this bill. One of them spends the winter in Arizona, and they have it, that's how they knew about it. So they have a yellow dot on their vehicles because of the Arizona project. And that's the nice thing about there being several states that have it, because law enforcement and emergency responders are familiar with it. In those states.
You might be traveling in another state,
That's right.
and perhaps in one that is familiar. And that sort of linkage to victims groups, support groups for Parkinson's, that's led, in fact, to another bill, is it not?
Yes, it's a bill that I'm co-authoring. The bill is actually authored by Representative Hamilton from here in Indianapolis. And it would create a Parkinson's disease registry, which would be, if you have Parkinson's, you would register with that. It's voluntary, but you could register with that. And then the database that's made up of the registry can then be used by researchers and other people who could do something with that registry to help people with Parkinson's.
And maybe, who knows, that researcher that may access that data maybe the next answer. You know, when you talk about issues like this that are near and dear to your heart, and maybe have a small cost, like with the DOT package, but not a significant cost, do you find that when there's a budget year and everybody's talking about property tax reform, Medicaid spending, I mean, does it sort of suck the oxygen out of the room? Does it clear the space for bills like these that could have a real tangible impact in a narrower sense, but significant to those affected? Or is it hard to get people's attention in a budget year when the stakes are, when everybody's worried about the dollars and cents? So.
Well, it's harder, but you know, there's services that we need here in the state for our citizens. And I think if you make a good enough case to the Ways and Means Committee, if that's where it goes, if it's high enough, it may not be a high enough level of expenditure for the state that it might not make the threshold. And in that case, I wouldn't have to go to the
Right,
Ways and
that's
Means
okay.
Committee.
Just move it along, right? That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
Put a
right.
old dot on that bill and send it down the pipeline.
Yeah, send it to the Senate.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to see happen this session so you can go back to your constituents in Muncie and say, you can be proud of what we did? Or for those couple of things you mentioned, would they be home run?
Another one, I have a joint resolution that really comes out of things that I've heard from constituents. And the resolution does is would begin the process of changing the state constitution to allow citizens to vote on the ballot on issues.
So they could start the process themselves, the ballot initiative, as opposed to waiting for responding.
And I mean, we see what's happened in some of the other states. People talk a lot about Ohio, how they passed a ballot initiative on abortion to keep it legal. And I've had a lot of people ask me, well, why can't we do that? And I have to tell them, well, our state constitution doesn't allow it. So,
of course, the irony or paradox, I guess, is that in order to change the Constitution and allow ballot access, you have to have two successive independently elected General Assemblies. So this one, and then in 2 years pass it, and then it goes to Hoosier voters.
Yes.
So it's a little bit of
on whether to change the Constitution. If it gets changed, then there would have to be another process to get an actual issue on the ballot.
Everything starts somewhere, though, right?
It does.
All right. Representative Sue Errington, Democrat from Muncie, District 34, I thank you for taking time out to chat with us about your hopes for this session. I commend your commitment to the state of Indiana and to public service. Appreciate your time.
Well, thank you very much, John.